Bent and Jaffa's orange grows. Microchips us. iPhone cameras us. Taco salads us. Podamos us. Olive Garden us. White Cloth for us. Sabra Hamas. Hasbara sus.
Yo, welcome to Bad Hasbara.
Yo, the world's most moral podcast.
That's right. I'm your most moral host, Matt Lieb.
And I am the only person even on the planet, even in the running for
Slightly moral.
For slightly the same, which is to say your other most moral co-host, Daniel Mate.
That's right. So excited for all of you to be here with us today on this wonderful, whenever we put this out, day.
Shout out to producer Adam Levin for stepping in my stead on the last
Yes, that's right.
live stream.
That's right. Daniel missed the live stream,
And it was fabulous.
Oh, listen, we did what we could without you, and what it turns out what we could do was, just kind of exactly what was expected, which was just me ranting and raving, and Adam just coming in with some killer jokes. It was pretty great.
Did your daughter feel celebrated adequately? Did she
Absolutely.
feel like her birthday
Absolutely.
really got...
I mean, she was at daycare, so I don't even know what she was doing, but I celebrated her, and she definitely felt happy when she came home and saw all the goddamn presents.
And she's still at age 2 at this point. What just happened there?
I got to get rid of this goddamn Amazon Home thing I've had for like 10 years, and it just talks to me randomly. It thinks I'm talking to it. I'm not. It's fucking ridiculous. And it's like, BDS and stuff, but I kind of feel like, it's still, I can tell it to play a song and it will. So I'm like, well, that's kind of sick. Anyways, what's up? What were you saying?
Has your Amazon Home robot developed sentience and realized that your politics are tending towards BDS, and now it's calling you a self-hater?
It's calling me a capo. My Amazon is like, would you like to play a song on Spotify, capo? All it does is call me a self-hating Jew or an
Hey Alexa, play me some rap music.
Yeah, I know where we're going.
Would you like to hear Shook Ones, part 1 or 2? Clearly, you ain't a crook, son.
Yes, it is. I gotta get rid of this fucking thing. But yeah, no, it was great. I'm so happy to have you back. This is our fucking 56th episode. We're still going strong, and people are joining the Patreon, which we really appreciate.
This is the episode where the Suez Canal gets invaded.
That's right. 56. Good year. Today's episode is brought to you by Doctors Without Borders. Go to doctorswithoutborders.org and go ahead and fucking, donate money. You could go to our Patreon and give us money there. That's fine. But please, before you do anything like that, send the money to somewhere where it can actually be, used for people who aren't safe at home in America. Although I don't know how it's safe.
Well, be sure to type in the name in the right order. It's not borderswithoutdoctors.org. That's a joint Republican Democrat page for their shared immigration policy.
Yes, I think Borders Without Doctors is what Israel's trying to make Gaza.
That's right. Well, except without the border part. They don't want
there
to
true.
be any
They're
borders either.
They just like the without doctors.
That's right.
That's their favorite part.
Yeah, that's exactly.
They were really pissed when they found out that they were trying to do, like help and, bring in some sort of medical infrastructure to Gaza. They were like, whoa. I thought it was without doctors.
That sounds like that involves doctors.
Yeah.
That sounds like it's with doctors. So you want to go to doctorswithoutborders.org, yes? That's right. Where we are donating today. That is what we are supporting. Thank you for listening to this show, and thank you for supporting the causes that are doing real great work on the ground.
Doing actual work and not just two guys talking shit. Although, hey, this is needed too. Doctors Without Borders, they might be helpful, but they're not funny.
They're also doctors without punchlines. Am I right?
Yeah, right. How about doctors without some fucking setup and punchline, guys? How about a premise? Thought of a premise? It's the same premise always with them. People need help. I've heard that one. Hack. Shut up.
Needs work.
Needs work. God, hit an open mic, Doctors Without Borders. More like doctors making me bored, dude. All right, I'll work on that one too. So, and also shout out to producer Adam Levin. We already gave him a shout out, but I'm giving him another shout out. 5 stars in review. Help us out. Daniel.
By the way, we're up to 3.9 stars on Spotify.
Hey, we're crawling our way back from the Hasbara attack. You know, the fucking Iron Stars initiated, baby. They're iron. Thank you to all you bad Hasbara listeners who are iron doming our stars in review on Spotify. You guys are the true heroes. You guys are the real ones.
Thank you for resurrecting our rating and fighting the good fight.
Yeah, but it's not over yet. So please listen to us on Spotify. Give us 5 stars. Daniel, what's the spin?
Today the spin is this really cool new album by a Tunisian artist who lives in my neighborhood. She's become a friend of mine. Her name's Ammiel. I forget her last name. You can find her on Instagram. Emel is how you spell her first name. And it's this incredible album, which I can't even pronounce the title, but it translates as woman. And she collaborated with a bunch of women from all over the world. She's like a Tunisian Bjork. I mean, you can sort of get that sense from just from looking at her. And I saw her in concert at National Sawdust here in Brooklyn, put in an incredible show. She collaborated with female rappers from Iran, Lebanon, I think, Palestine. Like, it's this big Arab feminist techno pop masterpiece. It's really beautiful. I really recommend it. It's spelled MRA, I think, the title. It's
MRA, men's rights activist.
That's sort of.
Oh boy.
That is what the word is on the title, but I think it's either an acronym or it's a transliteration of an Arabic word meaning
probably. Yeah, but I'm going to go with it's
exactly.
It's woman doing an album called Men's Rights Activist.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go with
then
that.
I've got Diggable Planet's Blowout Comb, which is the 30th anniversary of this incredible sophomore album from 1994. Can't recommend it highly enough. And then just to end the high holiday season, and just because Israel basically keeps saying this to us, You Want It Darker. Leonard Cohen.
Yes, Lenny. Beautiful.
You Want It Darker, We Kill the Flame. And people sometimes are like, Leonard Cohen was a Zionist. He wrote a poem to the IDF heroes of 1967. Well, I don't know. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. But he also wrote an incredible poem to Israel about how it's like defiling the Holy Land and killing itself. And I think the man with the poet's soul could see when when a Looney Tunes state was acting like Looney Tunes.
Have we read that on this podcast yet?
I don't think we have.
Oh man, we need to do that because it is it's incredible. And I remember
prophetic.
Yes, 100%. And it was something that I think I found out about because people were doing the thing where they're like, wait, Leonard Cohen's a Zionist. And someone was like, check out what he wrote here. And this is the thing about Zionism in Israel is I give more grace to the older generation who were around when Israel was a baby state. They were around for, born before the creation of Israel. And they may have thought incorrectly that this was a good idea. And, that's the thing about ideas is sometimes they take a second before you go like, wait. Is this a bad idea? And I know that's, cold comfort to anyone who in 1948 got kicked out of their homes and murdered by Israeli terrorist forces. But, it's for disconnected diaspora Jews, I can see how they would be like, yeah, this solves anti-Semitism before realizing.
Well, because it solved the problem of making us, it made us feel better about ourselves for a while.
Yes.
After, I think it's hard to imagine what it must have been like to live in the shadow of the Holocaust.
Yeah,
and if
absolutely.
if you didn't know much about what this whole Israel thing involved, 22 years after the end of the Holocaust, a Jewish army rides into Jerusalem and quote unquote liberates it, and now we can happily pray at
right,
triumph, redemption, all that kind of stuff. And I think that was big in the popular 100%. North American ethos.
Yeah,
in the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah, and just the rewriting of Jewish history felt like, it's I can see how being around for it, you would be like, oh man, this is history, a place of our own, and a new tough Jew that's got muscles and doesn't have any allergies. Oh, I want to be that. And then you see them decimate Lebanon in '82, and you're like, oh no, are we the baddies?
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, that's around the time that Bob Dylan, by contrast, went out and put out a song called Neighborhood Bully, which is one of this sort of sarcastic, like, everyone's always picking on the neighborhood bully. He's just protecting his turf. And it's like there's no extra layer of irony to that. He was just full on like, why is everybody picking on Israel in the aftermath of
really?
Lebanon? And and that's not so defensible, but.
Oh, I didn't know that. That sounds sarcastic.
It was a rough transition. He was coming out of his Christian period, and his transition drug, his methadone, was Zionism, getting off the hardcore Jesus. Sort of an unfortunate trajectory.
It happens.
I'm not sure what happened to his views on. I mean, I don't know that he has rigorous views on things. I think he just has characters he plays for a year.
I don't even know what he's doing anymore. I feel like he's probably. I would love it if he's just eating hot chicken sandwiches and watching Netflix, just like a normal guy. You know what I mean? Good for him.
Nah, he's touring. He's touring.
Okay, we're going to talk about something real quick before we bring our guest in. I just want to do a little bit from our segment, Blood Libel. Okay, I've not played that sting in a while. I forgot how long it is. That one had another 15 seconds.
And it's just music and text.
Yeah, there's not much going on with that one. So before the show started, I got a DM from friend of the pod, David Sheen, who sent this tweet. But it was a tweet by the ambassador of Israel in Poland, Yakov Livne, showing a Polish political cartoon that I need you to see. It is the Death Star being blowing up Alderaan, and then in Polish, Darth Vader sitting Netanyahu style with an Israeli flag in front of him. And he's saying in Polish, "We conducted a limited military operation precisely aimed into the military infrastructure of terrorists." And
I would like to speak to the people of Alderaan.
Yeah,
I'd like to speak.
Yeah, the Rebel Alliance is putting your families in danger. The Rebel Alliance is the ones who are hurting you. We should have peace between Alderaan and the Empire.
Our issue is not with the Ewoks. I would like to say, I look forward to
the trees that they've tied so that they smash in the heads of the AT-ATs.
We urge you to exit your forest dwelling places now, so we can destroy all the trees, and then you can come back, and we look forward to sitting around the last remaining embers of your planet and singing with you, as the ancients did in our shared language, yub nub. Yub chub
nub. So he wrote in this tweet, which is my favorite thing, "Very sad to see a blood libel spread by a party in the Polish parliament. Political messages cannot include anti-Semitism and xenophobia." What are we doing? What is, at this point, blood libel means nothing. Are you saying that for thousands of years, Christendom has accused Jews of blowing up Alderaan? Just this idea that, this is blood libel. The centuries-old idea that all Jews are Darth Vader.
Well,
Every Jew is a Sith Lord.
The breathing thing does track, as many of us do have emphysema or we're just short of breath.
Yeah, or we lead sedentary lifestyles and have trouble. We wheeze. I'm a wheezy guy. You're a wheezy guy.
Wheezy.
Love wheezy. Yeah, wheezy. That's Lil Wayne for those of you who don't like lean. But yeah, just the idea that, you know, we're calling this blood libel. Like at some point I'm offended. Because like these are like the ideas around a lot of these like old anti-Semitic tropes are not like they are real things. There were Christians who were just like doing pogroms because a child would go missing, and they said, "Oh, the Jews next door are using our child's blood to make their matzah." Like this is a documented thing. There's a lot of different anti-Semitic tropes that are, you know, documented absurdities that people believed about Jews. When you just start saying calling Darth Vader Israeli is blood libel, I just go like, oh, so I don't think you really even care about words. I think you're just having fun. You're just having fun with it. Adam says Watto is the only Star Wars blood libel. That is true. That is true. Watto was, I mean, man, if you don't remember, Watto was apparently the pod racer dealership owner. Very crooked nose, and he had a lot of slaves.
Well, Misa don't remember any other racial stereotyping in the Star Wars movies. Misha sure think the Jews had it worse.
Misha Bustin.
Misha Capo.
Or the Trade Federation that was just Chinese for no reason. That shit was wild, dude.
Yeah.
The idea of, I'm sorry, this is off topic, but if George Lucas just going, can we make these Trade Federation guys more Chinese? I think I want to see more Chinese looking guys. And everyone's like, I'm not questioning him. He made Boba Fett. Anyways,
the Darth Vader thing, I mean, the blood libel thing, the fact is literally the only Jewish thing in that cartoon is the Jewish star on the Israeli flag on the desk of Darth Vader.
That's right.
And again, it's the ultimate just, you know, blood libel by association. The fact that we're criticizing a government that's represented by the Jewish star means that anytime we talk about that government, it's now the same as blood libel from centuries ago when Jews didn't have a state.
Yes,
that actually did documented things.
Yes, it's 100%. Everything you said is exactly right. It is the idea that, in fact, they could have gotten rid of the Israeli flag there, and that you still would think it's anti-Semitic because you're like, wait a second, is that referencing the Israeli government doing, you know, like war crimes and then saying they did a limited strike? Like they'd still find it offensive because at this point, to even talk about the Israeli government doing crimes against humanity is just considered straight, you know, anti-Semitic blood libel, which is not true, man. It's not true because you are a government that is doing that, and we will get into the way that is defended.
I'm actually just now imagining him doing a video for every single planet and star system that the Empire comes to. Ice creatures of Hoth.
Our war is not with you. It is with your government of whatever that abominable snowman guy was from Hoth.
The Wampa Beast.
Yeah, Wampa Beast.
Yeah.
You know, your people sleep inside of the guts of banthas. Slice open it's tauntauns. Yeah. Tauntauns.
We need your help to throw the Palestinian people into the pit of Karkun, where they will be slowly digested for a period of 10,000 years.
Oh my God.
We have had intensive discussions with the Sarlacc.
Yeah. Yes.
The Rancor is on side too.
That's so funny. Oh,
the
man.
Tatooine Accords.
Yes, the Tatooine Accords. So, to talk more about Hasbara and everything that's going on. We have a great guest, a hilarious comedian who I met recently doing a stand-up show that was a fundraiser. It is Palestinian-American comedian Bilal Sharmoug.
How's it going, boys?
What's up, dude?
Hey, Bilal.
Thanks for having me. First, I just want to say that blood label intro. It might be my. I mean, I almost fell out of my chair. That was insane.
Yeah, you know, I did. That's okay. To be fair, it's mostly just something I found for free on Adobe Premiere, and I was like, I'm gonna put a blood label in front of it.
Just hit me out of nowhere, out of left field.
Hell yeah, dude. I got stings for days, dude. I got stings. I got bumpers. I got fucking, random shit. We got this one thing from Glenn Ross.
Ho, Patel?
Yeah, that's it. It's useful sometimes.
Whoa. Bilal Sharmoug?
Fucking
What do you
Bilal?
get these? What do you fucking get these deadbeats?
What do you get?
First and foremost, I was telling somebody I was gonna come on the Bad Hasbara podcast, and they told me, they're like, oh, like the gummy bears. And first of all, I was like, okay, I know I look like a guy who would do a gummy bear podcast.
A little bit.
But then a tear fell down my eye, and I said, well, how beautiful it must not be to not know, of the horrors of the world.
I know. It is nice that there's people out there who go like, what does that mean, Hasbara? Yeah. And I just go like, oh, my sweet summer child.
Yeah. And then I proceeded to take that light and get into a long-winded explanation that basically ended with, and sometimes there are just things you can't explain.
Yeah.
Which is often what I end up saying after I take a certain kind of gummy bear.
Yeah, if you have a bad Haribo, then all of a sudden you're shitting out your butt, shitting all that blood out your butt. You know what I mean?
Man, there's just some things you can't explain. Give me another gummy.
Yeah, give me another one. I like the clear white ones. Those are the best one, and it's because it's like some sort of pineapple-ish flavor or coconut. I don't know what it is, but it's really good. Am I allowed to say I like the white gummy bears the most? I feel like everyone got real quiet when I just said I have a preference for white gummy bears. Everyone's just looking at me.
No, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it's okay.
I was thinking about the kinds of gummy bears that you as a sober person don't do.
What kind of gummy bears do I as a sober person not do? Is there a drug I haven't heard about?
Well, no, but there's gummy bears with drugs you have heard about in them.
Inside of them?
Gummies is a popular
like
delivery
pot gummies?
tool.
That's what all the kids are doing now, man.
Yeah.
Get with the times.
Dude, I fucking got sober before all the cool weed shit. I got sober at a time where there was only two types of weed. It was like swag and chronic. And then sometimes chronic would be so like way too strong. And I would just I would have a little emotional meltdown.
Which I think is the best way to do it, because now if you want to get back into it, it's scary. There's many things out there.
There's too many choices. I feel like you go to a dispensary and it's just like staring at a Netflix menu. You're just like, I don't know what I want.
Bring back the swag chronic binary.
That's what I say. When times are simple. I feel like if the Soviet Union were still around, those are the choices they'd have, and they would come to America for the Baskin Robbins, the two genders. Adam says, the weed gender binary.
Simpler times,
man. We got vanilla and chocolate. Man,
all these kids walking around calling themselves mid.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, makes me sick.
Mids. Yeah, it's like mid is just the non-binary version of weed. Yeah.
So you guys met at a comedy show.
Yes, we did.
Yes,
we met at a comedy show, and so you're a Palestinian-American. I want to ask, how's the last year been?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that because I did a show last week, and I get to the portion where I say I'm Palestinian, and the crowd just goes crazy. It's awesome, it's amazing. But then also I did comedy October 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was whoa, people didn't know what they could laugh at. People don't, and I didn't know necessarily how I even felt about everything that was going on, at the time too. I just needed an outlet to get out. But yeah, it's been an interesting year. I think obviously it's been a very hard year. With everything that's going on, but in a unique way, it's also been kind of a very uplifting year in terms of like the massive amounts of support that, I never thought I'd see in my lifetime.
Yeah. And in terms of the comedy scene, I feel like one thing I like to talk to, especially comedians on the show about, is the kind of shift in that and the way that people, at least in my experience, people who used to like talk about politics and whatnot, it was like part of their brand or whatever. How many of them just completely shut down after October 7th of last year, where they just decided, it's not my place to have an opinion one way or the other about whether or not war crimes are good.
Yeah.
And what was your experience within the comedy scene? Because I know when we did the show together, one of the great things about doing these like shows with where the premise essentially is like a fundraiser for Gaza or some sort of organization that is helping people, everyone in the green room seems to be like very happy that they're able to talk openly about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, there's a difference between doing a show where the people are coming, to support Palestine. Everybody's on your side. It's a home game. I call that a home game.
Yeah.
And then, and whereas you're doing a show at a random club, in North Hollywood, you don't know who's in the audience. Maybe sometimes you have to dip your toes in first, and kind of gauge the audience.
Yeah. So what has your comedic angle been, or angles? I mean, like for any comedian approaching this, you need an angle of approach. I think Adam must have just said something funny people chuckled at, but I missed it because I was.
It was a very LA reference too.
Yeah, very, very, very.
I won't bother, but I'll just feel left out. Matt's approach, obviously, or one of his approaches in his sketch comedy scenes, seems to be
stand up.
I'm talking about your bits.
Yeah. The videos I do.
Yeah. Which I can imagine you bringing into your stand-up comedy, but
yeah,
impersonating a liberal Zionist twit and kind of watching, exposing the cognitive dissonance and the comedic contortions that a mind goes through when it's trying to hold on to increasingly incompatible ideals like human rights and I'm a good person on the one hand and I support the state of Israel on the other. So he exaggerates and he does it extremely well, not to make your hilarious comedy so much less hilarious by dissecting it and explaining
dissect the way.
Yeah. But I'm just wondering for you, in terms of your craft as a comedian, Bilal, I'm sure you have your own emotions, your frontline reaction to it all, which I imagine is not to necessarily laugh at it. How do you transmute whatever's happening for you organically in the face of what's been happening into something you can bring on stage? And what are your preferred approaches to tackling at this topic?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of just bringing your emotions on stage, but also I like to just heighten kind of the ridiculousness of some of the aspects of it, some of the things going on. Like I have a joke where I say, like, white people, I love your support for Palestine, but calm down. A guy came up to me the other day and he's like, we got to stop what Israel's doing. I'm like, thank you, it's a genocide. He said, yeah, and they're controlling the weather with their minds. And I'm like, well, come on. I don't know if you're necessarily on my side when you're doing that. So it's like, and plus they control it with their money, not their minds. And so it's like, so it's like little things like that, just kind of taking like the most ridiculous aspects of what's going on right now.
Ridiculous, but also super uncomfortable because like that joke points exactly at a really uncomfortable spot, which is, well, when you got a big section of the world Jewish population acting in ways that map pretty well onto some pretty nasty, inhuman stereotypes.
Yep. Exactly.
How do you navigate that? And how do you, and at what point do you stop somebody and say, thanks, your support is starting to feel like recruiting me into a conspiracy theory or something super racist that I wouldn't want to be a part of. But at the same time, it feels pretty good to have people on the side of Palestine for once.
Exactly.
And so that's like dramatizing and heightening your own discomfort in that moment strikes me as like a brilliant thing to mock.
100%, because it is like, you know, I go on Twitter and I like see a post of somebody who like posts something like really profound and insightful about Palestine, and then I'll like go through the rest of his tweets. I'll be like, oh no.
I know. You know? It's such a bummer too, because I feel like, you know, unfortunately I get too much of my like exposure to different people from Twitter. You know, I'm like too. I just never got that into like TikTok. I use Instagram, but it's not like I just like my algorithm is all just kind of like funny videos of shit, like completely not politically related. So Twitter, which is now the algorithm is just favoring either super Zionists or neo-Nazis.
Yeah.
And so like I'll see something that conforms to my political anti-Zionism and I'll be like, oh hell yeah, and then I'll like want to like the post and then I go, let me just see real quick what and then it's like just neo-Nazi shit, neo-Nazi. I'm like, bro, what am I like? God damn it! It's very annoying, and it's a lot of like Zionists will do the thing where they'll be like, well, these are the people you're in bed with, just so you know. These are so you know if you're at a you know a march and there's one Nazi there and no one tells him to go home, you're at a Nazi march, and I'm just like, have you ever seen a Zionist march that didn't include a healthy dose of normalized racism, normalized genocidal language? And it's not just coming from fucking randos, it's coming from the government.
The people you guys voted in. I mean, come on. Yes.
It's just crazy to me because I'm just like, you want to talk about Nazis? We could talk about Nazis. But at the same time, I'm just like, can we please stop following accounts that are just called like, you know, the goy knows, you know,
you really have to let those people finish the chant before you decide if you're going to join in.
I know.
So it's like, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free from those money grubbing hook nose, money lending, mind controlling.
Knock it off.
Yes. You're just like, all right, guys, we got to get out of here. Oops. But yeah, has there in the last year have you been talking what are the conversations you've been having with other people in comedy?
I just feel like since October 7th a lot of comedians who I didn't even at first know were Jewish even just started having some crazy radical ideas. You know, I was like, wait a minute, dude, you were like a nice guy. They're like, finish them. Finish them on. Give them hell. And I'm like, wait a minute, you invited me to your fucking birthday party.
Yeah.
And it's just been so like eye-opening. And like for like the first 6 months, dude, I was like having back and forth and DMs, like just trying to like rationalize with people, you know, just be like, look at me, man. Hey, I'm Palestinian. I'm not so bad, you know, and like, you know, and then it just turned into like, I'd be sending articles and they'd be like, that's an anti-Semitic article. And I'm like, it's the UN. What are you talking about?
You know? It's funny. Everyone has it's the exact same trajectory. It's the starting out with the DMs. Hey, I've noticed that you've been saying some shit that leads me to believe that you've lost your mind. I'm hoping that we can talk about it and that you will see that you've lost your mind. And then a little bit of like, well, no, I know things are just crazy. Obviously, I have like very nuanced views. Cut to, you know, a month later, you're just back and forth sending articles. One person, like you're sending it from like, you know, Human Rights Watch, and they're sending it from like
Human
Israel.
Rights Watch.
Yeah, Human Rights Watch. Exactly.
Just like opinion articles in the New Yorker, and they're like, see, this is the facts. And I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. Where they're just like, okay, so there's a new opinion piece by Brett Stevens that I think you really need to read. And it's entitled, Why Some People Don't Have Souls.
Yeah. Are they animals or are they human?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're just like, feel like you're choosing your op-eds really specifically.
Yeah. And so that was like kind of crazy to me. I mean, I had a tough time even like the comedy scene. I would be at places and like I'd hear somebody make like a really bad joke, you know?
Yeah.
And just like, you know, the comic in me is like, you know, it's a joke, everybody's trying something out. But like the Palestinian in me, I would literally stand up and boo people. Like I just, you know, like I fucking wasn't having it for a while, you know?
Yeah.
So it is crazy to see kind of the how people's true colors come out sometimes.
Yeah. No, it is wild. I mean, I would go to different shows and I would have this experience. I don't know if you can relate to this, where because of my the things I would post about and whatnot, I would have at least one person kind of show up and like just like sidle up to me at some point in a dark corner of wherever we're performing and go like, hey, I really love this stuff that you're talking about with Palestine. I think it's really important. And they would like whisper it.
But let me ask you guys, like, are there comedians out there making pro-Israel jokes in comedy clubs right now?
Yes.
Yes?
There are, but from what I've
Bill Maher types? Is that the vibe?
Well, certainly Bill Maher. I mean,
yeah.
But like, there's Bilal, you give me your answer to that.
I don't know. I think from what I've seen, the guys who are going to do it are towing it. You know, they're not necessarily dipping full-blown genocide on stage. You know.
Yeah.
So what's their bit? What's their angle? What do they think is funny?
It depends on who you're talking about, but a recent example I saw is it was a bit about genocide and about the definition of the word genocide, and essentially the joke was about, you want to talk about genocide, and it wasn't directly comparing it to the Palestinians either. It was about someone else calling something else a genocide, and then it led into a thing about how as a Jew, let me tell you what genocide actually is. And it was a funny angle, but it was also very much coming from a place of let me do a bit about how no one else can say anything is a genocide except for us.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, I feel like there is a joke to be made there by someone to say all these marginalized groups have been throwing around the term genocide to describe their plight in America for the last 15, 20 years. Are you guys going to keep using that word after this? You know, like might that be a little hyperbolic now to, but the premise of that joke is that what we're looking at actually is that. It's a little inconvenient for, it's like we might have to pare back some of our rhetoric.
Yeah. And I've seen people use like, for example, like that's like gays for Palestine, as like something that's like such an oxymoron or something like that. And, that's whatever. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like towing it, but it's not necessarily going into it. It's just a quick aside. And
yeah, but it's a very quick way to see where someone is coming from. And it's a way of people like testing the waters and stuff. And to be honest, like the types of stuff that I have seen, especially in LA, has been tame compared to the stuff that you see. Yeah. I mean, I feel like New York, they have like, there's certain comedy clubs that are just about like having Zionist comedians and stuff.
Yeah.
In LA, I think everyone is, they're more, thirsty for mainstream glory.
Yeah.
So
100%, man. 100%.
They're keeping it very mainstream.
Well, you've given me an idea for next time I want to have a really, really bad date night. I'll go find one of those Zionist comedy clubs.
Yes. Tough to get up there.
Take my lady friend and go be miserable.
B'nai B'rith as the worst comedy club in America. But I wanted to veer into this conversation about liberal Zionists and about Yom Kippur. So we recently online.
You're comfortable making fun of Jews, yes, Bilal? We should have checked with you.
Oh yeah,
we're going to be making fun. We're going to be making fun of some Jews today.
Yeah, we're going to talk.
Hey man, they're my cousins, dude. It's all in the family.
That's
dude.
right.
At the end of the day, man. Come on now, player. Don't tempt me with a good time, Danny boy.
Talk shit about Jews. I was born this way. But there is a rabbi, I believe he's a reform rabbi named Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch, whose video of his speech during Yom Kippur services went viral. And this was something that he put out himself. All right. This is not, something that it wasn't selectively edited in order to draw outrage. It wasn't
leaked.
No, it wasn't leaked. And it was incredible. In fact, he has now created a new soundboard on Bet Hasbara. Just from the shit he said in the speech alone.
Oh, that's so great.
Yes. But first I will play some of his speech, and we can kind of go through it because good stuff. He mostly is directing this at children who are watching this on the internet. This is not a room filled with Jewish youth who are left-wing anti-Zionists. So it's very clear he's not playing to the room. He's playing to the future virality of this clip.
He's also playing to the parents of those kids who are not there. They are in the room. Their kids didn't come with them this year, and the parents are feeling very rejected and upset, and like they want someone on their side. This guy is basically, I said this on Twitter, this guy is basically if Matthew Modine played the villain character in some Stranger Things spin-off set at an Eastern Seaboard Hebrew school in the early 90s, the very early 90s, and the soundtrack, just like the Stranger Things thing is, it's just total fan service for 80s nostalgia. The soundtrack would team with like early 90s Beastie Boys, like Check Your Head Beastie Boys and PJ Harvey and The Breeders and fucking They Might Be Giants.
Yes.
And De La Soul. Mm-hmm. And there'd be a real big climate. You know how like Master of Puppets formed this big climactic, viral, epic Stranger Things climax scene? Well, it would be on Yom Kippur, and it would be all the students singing Hunger Strike by Temple of the Dog. We're going hungry.
Exactly.
And they'd be fasting in solidarity with Palestine, and this guy is losing control of the young Zionist minds.
Yeah. So
his theme would be Beck's Loser. Doesn't he look like Matthew Modine?
He does. And some people are saying he looked like Stephen Colbert, which is kind of white dude with glasses syndrome. I feel like, as a white dude with glasses.
Looks a bit also like Alan Ruck.
He looks the most like Alan Ruck.
Yeah. He does have some Conor Roy energy to him.
Yes. But here is some selections from his speech.
And if you do not feel this special bond with other Jews, you're emotionally damaged, Jewishly. And I say to all of our young people.
By the way,
you're emotionally damaged, Jewishly.
That of course is on the soundboard.
You're emotionally damaged, Jewishly.
I mean, like, I feel like you're emotionally damaged Jewishly is the realest shit I've ever heard.
Oh my!
I'm like, yeah, dude. I feel like there's people who are emotionally damaged, and then there's people who are Jewishly emotionally damaged.
This guy's got mega church pastor vibes.
I know.
It's just, it's really, it's like when your two favorite worlds collide.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes the worst thing you could possibly imagine. We need to really do a deep dive into like the entire modern reform movements kind of deciding to mirror a Christian super churches and evangelicalism. It's wild. But
well, actually, and that brings me to my other comparison. It feels like a Footloose type movie, you know, where like there's a pastor father, but a Zionist shaliach, like a you know, member of the UJA or some kind of mainstream Jewish organization, and his son or his daughter is going to this liberal Zionist Hebrew summer camp, and like, I don't know, words like Nakba are coming up, and like he needs to step in and be like, no, you are not doing a dabka at Visitors Day talent show.
You want to get loose, foot loose, kick out the Israeli Jews. Please, Louise, from the river to the sea.
Kill all number. Jews. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Oh, God.
Just kafiyas in the air.
Yeah. Oh, boy. We're gonna make that. We have to. All right, here. We're gonna continue with Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch.
It's too good.
It's wild.
I love your generation.
So sweet.
I think you're amazing. Know that we tried to instill in you a sense of justice, righteousness, virtue, honor, rectitude, honesty, and decency for all people.
And other human qualities that make me bunch up my fist like this when I say them and shudder with incontrollable rage.
Anti-racism, wokeness.
I feel like he's trying to do the Barack Obama fucking
hand
thing, and it's just coming out like really aggressive.
Barack Obama's like rhetorical style and speaking pattern melted a lot of liberal Jewish brains because they were just like, that's how you sound smart and good. So now you have like Josh Shapiro, who's just like doing an Obama impression. Let me be clear. Israel has a right to exist.
If I just get the cadence right.
Yeah, if I get the cadence right, I can call them human animals without people noticing.
And people think I'm nice.
And people think I'm a good guy. All right,
this guy's too seething. This guy's got much more John McCain energy.
100%.
Like every word coming out of him is like it's clenched buttocks.
It is 100%. Yeah. The feeling of you're getting yelled at by your dad, and I love that he's like, this will inspire the kids.
Worse, your fucking stepdad.
Yes, yelled at by your stepdad. All right, here we go.
And if these ideals lead you to be critics of Israeli policies or the American Jewish community, so be it.
So be
it,
Jedi.
We did not intend.
So be it.
That's got to be on the soundboard, right there.
Yeah, I should add, so be it.
So be it.
No, I have a few others, but so be it will be added.
It's for your generation to turn your backs on our people. We wanted you to be Zionists. We did not intend that our emphasis on tikkun olam, social repair, would lead some Jews to join anti-Israel demonstrations.
Wait, so let's back up for a second, where he's just like, and if this leads you to be critics of Israeli policy, so be it. But don't demonstrate about it. What are you doing? Listen, if you're
we taught you, we gave you a perfectly good model for what it means to be a critic of Israeli policy.
Yeah.
It's not at rallies. It's not around non-Jews. It's certainly not around Palestinians. It's sitting at the breakfast table on Sunday morning, reading an essay in the New Yorker, lamenting that Israeli society is 15% less courteous than it was in 1978, and that Jews are shoving each other to get onto buses, and that no one smiles at each other anymore, and that might have something to do with the excesses of the occupation. That's criticism of Israel.
Yes.
And that only.
Yeah, only that. And also, Israel really has to do something about its stray cat problem. These
Have you
are the
been
issues.
to the old city?
Yeah, exactly. I understand there were many mice, but now too many cats. We got to do something.
And I say that as a Jew, and I love this country, but to love this country means to bring the hard criticisms
That's
too.
right.
And I just don't think its sitcoms have been up to snuff since the death of Yitzhak Rabin.
Yes, this entire speech is about the unintended consequences of his generation of Jews teaching their kids about social justice and tikkun olam, which means to heal the world or repair the world. These concepts of Jewish philanthropy and
that are supposed to remain concepts.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to do them. You're supposed to think about them and talk about them. We taught you to make speeches using the term tikkun olam whenever you can and connecting it to anything, but don't do anything with it.
All you need to do with it is make a good graphic design poster that says heal the world in English and in Hebrew. That's what it's for. It's for posters at Hebrew day schools. It's not meant to be taken literally.
Say you feel bad for them. Don't actually feel bad for them.
Exactly. And certainly don't act on their behalf. What happened to Jews being brothers? This whole speech is also about how we've abandoned Jewish brotherhood. And the first half of this fucking speech, which hasn't gone viral, which I combed through, is just him staring at an Israeli family at a cafe. He said it's basically it starts with a story about how he's in London, he's at a cafe, and he sees an Israeli family, and he sees these beautiful prepubescent girls, his words, not mine. And he talks about their innocence and their, the way that they're just living their lives. They're happy and texting and eating cheese. And it just goes into his mindset changes from like, oh, look at that happy family to I can't believe the barbarians of Hamas killed these beautiful Jewish women. Like,
look at these girls sitting right in front of me right now. Hamas killed them.
Yeah,
I'm thinking about each of their pelvic bones.
Yes.
I can't help, as you do when you're in a cafe with beauty, to think of it being crushed and strangled.
Yeah. Think of them not even being able to have a fully developed mons pubis while they sit there.
The girls were on the cusp of sprouting wings. They had that pubescent look of not yet fully realizing how beautiful they would soon be.
It's such a perfect encapsulation of like the mind rot of this generation of liberal Zionists, where they literally are staring at Israeli prepubescent girls in a cafe and being like, they're too beautiful to kill. And you're just like, what
God damn it.
And then, God help me, my mind went to, how come my own daughters aren't this beautiful?
Yeah, exactly. It's because I have these goddamn ugly Ashkenazi genes. I don't have the beautiful mixed Yemeni, Iraqi, Ahmadzig genes inside of me.
Quite frankly, this younger generation of North American Jews, I'm not sure Hamas would even deign to rape you.
Yeah, you're not beautiful enough, nor prepubescent enough. This guy is a straight psychopath, and I love it. Yeah, we'll continue with a little bit more of his rants.
Oh, I want more, yeah.
Yes.
I love this guy.
We did not intend for American Jews to lead Passover Saders in so-called liberated zones, liberated from Zionists, that violate not only university policies, but threaten the safety of Jewish students. We did not...
Wait, okay, but just so I'm clear, these are Jewish students you're talking about who are leading Passover Saders inside of liberated zones. Proponent of dorm law, says Adam. And then you're like, but also, this is a danger to Jewish students. Which ones? Oh, you're talking about the ones who aren't at the Passover Saders. Okay, fair. Give me an example of that being an actual thing. Give me an example. And it's just like this. He's repeating the same fucking bullshit. Jewish students are in fear for their lives thing, which is hard to do while simultaneously talking about the Jews who are leading these Passover Saders. It's I love liberal
and that's
Zionism.
the thing. You ask for an example, and they can never give you an example.
No, they'll show you some viral video from like Visegrad or whatever these like weird, like
or they'll send you a Shabbos Kesterbaum interview.
Yes, exactly. And you're just supposed to believe that every major news outlet has an anti-Israel bias, but some fucking psychopath's blog post is like a real account of.
I'll never forget the first time somebody told me that, well, the media's bias against Israel. My fucking head almost fell off.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
Yeah. It is.
I was like, oh, you think they have a bias against you? I was like,
yeah. That's wild. Yeah. The idea, this whole thing of like the complete inversion of reality, we're going to get into that later with this interview that Isaac Chotiner did with some British Jewish writer who had a little meltdown recently. But yeah, it is a complete inversion. It's like every accusation, a confession, etc. I'm going to play a little bit more.
What I love the most about the part we just saw, where he's like, we did not expect you, some Jewish students, to lead Passover Saders at pro-Palestine protests. What he's basically saying is, we never thought that was possible. We never.
Right.
It's not that they didn't expect it to happen. It blows their mind to think of the Passover service.
Yes.
Being taken.
Divorced from Zionism.
Yeah.
Repatriated from Zionism.
Yes.
And applied in this situation. It's like, you weren't supposed to use this against us.
Yes. And
he's just really, really mad, actually, that the Passover service actually does fit the purpose so well, that so many Jews did naturally do it, that it formed a massive point of solidarity and communion between activists.
Yes.
And that left Jewish Zionist students feeling very threatened and on the outs. They had some real unsafe feelings because all of a sudden the structures that kept their little
worldview
safe to hold without being threatened are now gone. Those guardrails are gone. And of course, these are many of the same people who will, we've said this a million times, this bitter herb is pressed about the bitter herb. Nice.
Nice.
These are the same people, many of them, who would have made fun of safe spaces on campus.
Oh, yeah.
You're not supposed to go to university to feel intellectually safe.
You're
supposed to have your worldview shaken up, right? But not this.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is too much.
Yeah. When we said you should be critically thinking, we did not expect you to always do it. Come on, man. Sometimes you gotta just be like, well, no, I'm not thinking about that one. That one I'm going on pure gut.
Think critically about when you should sometimes just fall in line and accept everything your elders tell you.
Absolutely.
I just love the chat in the background too.
Oh yeah. The guy in the background occasionally
mug. He raises an
gives
eyebrow.
One of his like, yeah.
Every now and then he'll raise an eyebrow.
Like, oh, this guy's spitting facts.
Yeah.
Oh, this is straight fire.
This is fucking mullet.
Well, I think this guy is younger. He's a millennial, so he's like the good one in the class.
Yeah, dude. He is
like, I told them. I tried to tell them, Rabbi.
I told them, if you keep pantsing me, at some point,
Rabbi's really going to have it in for you.
Yeah, I'm going to be Rabbi's best friend, which makes me Hashem's best friend, which basically makes me better than you. Okay? Hey, you guys.
Or excuse Jews who burn American flags.
Fuck you.
Or support those who do.
Okay. Yeah, we've never had a tradition of supporting radical
every
opposition
in this
to
fucking
regime,
thing,
to empire.
like it's one thing to like you're starting off talking about like how can you divorce this from Zionism, and then you got like also what are you doing burning the American flag? It's just like,
yeah,
can you come off it with your fucking bullshit? I'm sorry, but your entire generation, your entire liberal generation, whether or not he's specifically, you know, of this mindset, I don't know. I assume he is, but you've defined your self-identity as people who protested the Vietnam War. Eat a fat fucking dick if you're gonna pretend like now you're like burning the flag. Oh, we should never burn a flag. Shut up.
It only sucks when you don't agree with it. You know what I mean?
Yes,
exactly.
And for a really nice counterpoint to that, are we done with the clip?
Yeah, sure. More? It's more bullshit.
So there's a sermon that I was fortunate to be present to attend at a Rosh Hashanah service that was given by Ariella Aisha Auzulai, who's Arab Jewish, Israeli born, now teaches at Brown, really wonderful scholar, interesting thinker. I would love to have her on the show actually, and I think she'd be down, so we should get on that.
I'm down.
But she gave this incredible sermon about the Kol Nidre prayer, which is the one that starts Yom Kippur, right? Which is sort of the saddest prayer or the most solemn prayer in the Jewish liturgy. And I didn't know much about it, but Kol Nidre means all our vows. And essentially the format of the Kol Nidre prayer is that all our vows up to this point, all oaths, all prohibitions, all things we've given our word to are null and void for the purposes of all of us being on an equal footing, and that we can all pray together and start fresh on this day of repentance. And she says, I got a copy of it. Let me just read this one little sentence here. She says, I want to suggest that our ancestors' adherence to this prayer is linked to the fact that this prayer does not, as it is often understood, deal only with vows made by individuals. It is not only about personal teshuvah, which is the Hebrew word for return or reconciliation with the divine and with our true selves, but it also rather concerns vows that communities made, were forced to make, or accept as theirs. And she goes on to name a whole bunch of collective, quote-unquote, vows that Jews under Zionism in various communities have been forced or induced to make. And she's saying that the power, the rebellious, anarchic, subversive power of this prayer, which is why it was attempted to be outlawed many times by different imperial powers, is that as it grants the community the right to say, you know what, fuck that. That's off. We're not following that anymore. And she goes on to list a bunch of vows related to Zionism that have been extracted from Jewish communities in various ways. And the reason I'm reading that is this guy is the imperial power that's saying, no, but you said but we remember when you were 13 and you had a bar mitzvah and we blessed you in the blood of the Israeli soldiers and we said that now you are a member of the community. You said that, I might have said that when I was 13. I'm taking that back.
Yeah.
We're taking that back. All our vows are null and void. And he can't stand that.
Yeah.
And it's driving him crazy.
And it's happening at a rapid rate.
Very rapid rate.
That's the true fear, I think, is just kind of like this past year is just how much it's taken over. I feel like it's not enough still, but I think it's exponentially better than where we've been at.
Yes. And it's very clear that, he, for all the different, anti-Zionist Jewish reactions to Israeli, war crimes in the last, 20 years or so, there's never been this level of reaction. And and
defection within the ranks.
Yes.
And awareness outside the ranks, like the whole, like Zionists are feeling it from within and from without.
Yes. By the way, just so we know who this guy is specifically, this is from an article that came out yesterday in the forward. Rabbi Ammiel Hirsch has made advancing the Zionist cause a focal point of his work for more than 30 years at the forefront of Reform Judaism. He is a former IDF tank commander and helped lead the push for the Reform movement's official support of Israel in 1997. So for him,
pretty nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy. He is literally IDF. And this has been his life's work. His life's work has been to be the guy within Reform Judaism who is pushing it towards Zionism. And so for him, when he's screaming, you know,
we wanted you to be Zionists.
He is essentially screaming about the job that he's been doing. He's like, what the hell?
You're making me look like a schmuck.
Yeah, I am not a schmuck. I'm sitting here watching my family do Passover with a bunch of Arabs, and I'm sitting here holding my schmeckle alone with a Seder plate filled with bitter herbs that I'm going to have to eat alone.
Have I told you the story of me being at synagogue on Yom Kippur as a teenager, and the rabbi is popping off about quote unquote Palestinian tree terrorism?
No, but that sounds great.
Oh,
I'm sitting next to my father, who's recently come back from the West Bank on doing a medical tour, seeing olive groves get burned by settlers, not to mention Palestinians get their arms incapacitated and their heads caved in by so-called rubber bullets. I'm sitting there next to my father, and this rabbi, this reform rabbi, very reminiscent of this guy in the video, but this is back in 1988, 89, here on Yom Kippur, on the Day of Atonement. And that's the other fucking galling thing about this video. This is the Day of Atonement. This is the day of personal responsibility and accountability and reflection and getting right and letting go of vows that we've made, right? Like I just said. And this guy's getting upset that his younger generation is just being a little too reflective, a little too accountable. But I just remember hearing my dad's teeth grinding next to me as the rabbi went on and on about the Palestinian tree terrorism. My dad eventually got up and walked out. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is the thing I'm caught in. But that's back in 1989 or whatever. It's so great now that a speech like that, a rabbi can like film it and be like, okay, it's time to go nuclear on the world, put this out there, convince everybody. And he gets completely ratioed.
Yeah.
Because, Bilal.
Those, I feel like sometimes those are like our best friends. You know, like they put out their ridiculous, contradictory statements and these just outlandish videos. Make himself look like one of my favorite people is Rabbi Shmuley, dude.
Oh, I love
Shmuley. Is the fucking man, dude.
Yeah, keeping it real all the time.
Truly Shmuley.
Shmuley, dude. That guy. I mean, he does all the argument I need to do for me.
If I was him, I'd have an advice column called Yours Shmuley.
Yeah.
The Shmulinator, dude. That's I call him the Shmulinator.
We gotta love the Shmulinator.
I do have a quick aside about your dad. 25 years ago, my dad actually read his book and changed his life. And,
wow.
You know, he was like really loved your father, but he was afraid for a long time to look into his politics because he knew he was a Jewish man. So like he revered him so much for his work and addiction and stuff like that, that he didn't want to know, you know, which is a very uniquely Palestinian thing. I think it is, you know, somebody's politics can shift your entire view on them, and especially in terms of Palestine. I mean, they can have great politics everywhere else, but it's just that one thing that, you know, that'll really ruin it. But he said when he finally did find out your father's politics, he said it was a breath of relief, and he said he felt ashamed for not wanting to look into it sooner.
Oh, it's totally understandable.
Super understandable.
That's a great story. I'll tell
you really never know. But on the subject of it being a gift, some of these people, our next segment is truly a perfect example of that. But before we do that, we do have to take a quick commercial break. So everyone, just lock yourself in and get ready to listen to ads, because it's time for these Jews to get paid. I'm sorry. So stick around. We'll be right back. And we're back. What's up? Bad Hasbara, world's most moral podcast, here with Bilal Sharmoug. What up, dog?
Sup?
What's up? So we got to get into this. This is a Bad Hasbara breaking news. It's not breaking news at all, but this is just, we found a new guy. this is someone, his name is Howard Jacobson.
I've known of this guy for a good 30 years. He had
crazy. I missed him completely.
He had some kind of book. I forget what it was called, but it was some kind of like, he's a British Jew.
Yes.
And one of these sort of, he thinks of himself as, I think he called himself the Jewish Jane Austen in response to being described as the English Philip Roth. So he's caught between being the English Philip Roth and the Jewish Jane Austen.
Yeah.
I doubt he's quite both. But he had a book, I forget what it was called.
Mm-hmm.
Roots Schmutz, Journeys Among Jews. I remember that. Yes, from 1993, which is sort of just like a kind of bewildered traveling journalist going to various places and writing about it in sort of a British way.
Yeah.
And then he had a novel called The Finkler Question, which won the 2010 Man Booker Prize.
Yeah.
That's the last I heard of him.
Yeah, and he's someone who is fairly well-respected British Jewish author who lost his mind after October 7th. And he's someone who recently, about this interview that I'm about to read, was something that happened as a response to an article he wrote maybe a week or so ago, in which he described all the images of dead Palestinians, especially dead Palestinian children that we see night after night after night on the news, as a new form of basically media-backed blood libel. That it is blood libel to show the carnage that Israel is raining down upon the Palestinian people, which, once again, what are we doing with this, blood libel label at this point? It is, we're doing it wrong. I'll just say that much.
Can we just show a picture of this guy for a second? I just texted you because I spoke earlier about, and this is a difficult thing to talk about. Okay. I spoke earlier about how are you, a Palestinian comedian, in a time when so many Jews are somehow
come on, man,
acting out a program of like anti-Semitic stereotypes on steroids come to life animatronically. Now, look, there is a certain physiognomy to Jews, and I'm not saying that anyone who looks like this necessarily, but can we just look at this guy?
Come on, man.
Come on,
dude, hold on.
We all look. We can't just go into the just looking at him.
Get it off of the fucking screen, man. What are you doing to me, man?
It's not. It's that he's not. It's that he is not an attractive man. It says nothing about us as a people, Daniel, and it says nothing about us as. No, you're sending me more photos.
No, the thing is, this exact physiognomy, if you changed his emotional inner world, would be a lovely, beautiful, wise-looking rabbi.
Yeah,
it's actually not about the physicality, but if you look at this picture, it gives off vibes of a kind of, what's the word? Hectoring shiftiness.
Listen,
that's what I see in my nightmares, fellas. I mean, yeah, it's gotta
listen. There's not a Jew on this podcast who, with the wrong angle, can't look a little bit globe holdy. We all, as Adam is talking about, we all can sometimes, depending on lighting, look like a merchant of somewhere.
It looks like we could easily be a merchant in some
maybe
city.
Somewhere in Italy, let's say.
Yeah, it's very Kronos-esque,
Yes. But here's the thing: is physiognomy aside, there's no physiological, at least, or physiognomy. There's no facial consistency between the type of brain rot that Zionism creates it is just extra funny when they are.
That's the point.
100%.
When they turn into just what I would consider like the perfect diasporic Jew stereotype of our modern times, in which they are super pro-Israel, despite like having only a narrative connection to the land, like like the way in which he describes his connection to Israel and every Jew's connection to Israel is essentially like, I haven't been there, maybe more than one time, but I've been hearing about it for a while, and I know it's good, and I feel like they're my brothers, and it's like, okay, you can feel that way, but. Isn't it weird? Wouldn't you immediately go like, wait, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about once the murdering of children started being normalized?
Yeah.
Well, it did throw him into a kind of crisis, and he describes that in this article.
Yes. It's called Rationalizing the Horrors of Israel's War in Gaza.
Shout out to Isaac Schottner,
the
interviewer who did quite a good job of just letting
Isaac Schottner. Thank you, Adam. Yeah, no, shout out to him. I mean, like, this is a great interview because he's doing literally what the job of a journalist is, which is to ask like follow-up questions based on the logic of the person's previous answer,
and be like, it sounds like you're saying
yes. And so it starts, obviously, it's a longer interview, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but just here's some of it. So first, the intro. The novelist Howard Jacobson has already written a number of books, many of them about the British Jewish community. When he won the Booker Prize for the Finkler Question in 2010, in a review in this magazine, James Wood was more critical than the consensus, writing that the novel was, quote, always shading towards an atavistic, the atavistic and reactionary. So he goes on to talk about that since Hamas's attack on October 7th, which killed approximately 1,200 Israelis, Jacobson has been increasingly outspoken about anti-Semitism, which always a good sign, and critical of those who question Israel's military campaign in Gaza, which has killed more than 42,000 people. And then earlier this month, he wrote this controversial piece in The Observer, which he said that the media, sustained media coverage of of children being killed in Gaza was functioning as a new blood libel against the Jewish people.
Can we quote him?
Yeah, you won't read the quote.
The quote.
Remember, he is British, so he's very David Beckham, fishy cheap. It's like that's his whole vibe.
Such bias as I have described, conscious or not, has contributed not just to the anxiety level of Jews, but to the atmosphere of hostility and fear in which they now live. The litany of dead children corroborates all those stories of their insatiable lust for blood.
It's like every time Israel kills a baby, people is like, oh, Israel just killed a baby. And then me goes, oh, this is exactly like 1492. We got kicked out of Spain for this. This must be a lie. All right, so we spoke to him. What is it? This is Schottner. What is it that you have wanted to get across to readers since October 7th?
I was in such a confusion of fear and stress and upset and then rage. The fear and the upset and the heartbreak was the massacre itself. And then the speed of the response to the aftermath of the massacre was so hideous, so unexpected. Such a kind of topsy-turvy version of what we normally expect a response to a catastrophe to be, that it just threw me into half confusion, half fury.
Now wait 1 second.
Yeah.
Before you continue this, when I was reading this, I said, yeah, dude, the aftermath of the massacre was so hideous and so unexpected and such a topsy-turvy version of what we would normally expect a response to a catastrophe.
But he's talking about the speed of the response to the aftermath.
Yes.
He's talking about the response to the aftermath of the aftermath.
Yes. This is like one of the many times in reading something that a Zionist says in which for a second I go like, oh, they're going to say
the right thing.
Say the right thing. They're going to say something real. What he's talking about is the fact that afterwards, when, by the way, Israel immediately started a mass bombing campaign that killed thousands, like within the first week. And so like this idea that like all of a sudden people was in the streets, they were saying things like, ceasefire, don't do that. Oh, can you not bomb them, please? And I said, whatever happened to be nice to the youths?
They're showing dead babies on the television.
They're showing more dead babies. I said, wait a second. Well, give us a few weeks of killing the babies. To continue, you can keep going. Sorry.
What the hell was going on that people could turn like that on the people who've been attacked? All those people who said, no, hang on. Don't talk about anti-Semitism. This is anti-Zionism. All that went is the people attacking Israel couldn't remember if they were attacking Jews, Israelis, Zionists. I thought the world that I live in is not the world I knew. It's changed, and I still feel that. I'm living in a world I don't recognize it and find it very hard to comprehend.
Yes.
It's just so crazy that it's what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Why are these people so mad?
Yeah. I don't understand.
Can we go back to the previous slide?
All of a sudden, people turned on the Israeli government, and it's like, well, did you watch what the response was immediately?
No, but you remember the 7th.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, you remember? I never forgot.
Well, so he's amazed by is the speed of people's response to the aftermath.
Yes.
Apparently, he skipped the part of checking out what the aftermath was. Like, what are they responding to?
Yes.
He's like, oh my God, like this horrible massacre comes. Okay.
Yeah.
And then within a week,
yes,
it's like people had this preset response. Oh, Israel's going to kill a whole bunch of people and cut off food and water. Now, I'm still grieving what happened on October 7th. I haven't had a chance to check out what Israel's actually doing.
All right.
You're just hitting me with all these accusations. I can't be expected to check out and see if it's actually happening.
Yes.
Israel would have had to have been planning this for years for them to respond that quickly. And I can't imagine that that's true.
Yeah. They would have had to have mapped out every area, every single square in the grid of Gaza for years, and they couldn't be because they left in 2005.
And they never did exactly that back in 1947, 48. Right. Like they had a list of every single Palestinian living everywhere and what they were going to do with them.
In order for that to happen, Gaza would have to be the most surveilled place on the planet.
And that's impossible. It can't be.
If it's so surveilled, then how come I think of it so seldom until October 7th? I was never looking at it.
How come I never think about it, never look at it?
Why am I thinking about it all the time then?
If it's so surveilled, how come they don't allow journalists in there now? So after the war in Gaza started and there were all these civilian casualties, we saw Israel intentionally denying humanitarian aid to people who were starving. What should the response from people have been at that point?
I'm gonna try to do Steve Coogan's Michael Caine.
Oh yeah, do Michael Caine.
Yeah. That's not something I can say because I don't know what my own response should have been. She was only 16 years old.
She was only 16 years old.
I trusted no one and I trusted no report. That doesn't mean I didn't see some pictures on television. I saw pictures indeed. I saw many pictures indeed. On the telly. The BBC has been appalling. It's been appalling indeed. It just showed you pictures, unbearable pictures, heartbreaking pictures of dying babies every night. But any war would look appealing if you just showed the suffering of the women and children.
So he's only 16 years old.
They're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
What can we do when we fall down, Master Netanyahu? We get back up.
But any war would look appalling if you just showed the suffering of the women and children. Okay, so funny accents aside, Let's get into what he actually says here.
Yeah, that's what he says. So I thought, who am I to believe here? I read a lot of people. I believe some, and I didn't believe others. It turned out very badly, and the right-wing government of Benjamin Netanyahu is contemptible. And I have no doubt about all that. But that didn't mean that something didn't need doing. There was no alternative to it. Israel has to try to get Hamas. I thought Netanyahu's belief that he could wipe out Hamas was stupid. So I felt this war had to be prosecuted. if a war is prosecuted, it will be ugly.
Okay, so what I want to know from him is, look, every night they keep bombarding me.
Yes.
What did he exactly say about the babies? The pictures of babies? The previous one?
Yeah, he said.
It just showed. Yeah, it's been appalling.
Yeah.
It just showed you pictures, unbearable pictures, heartbreaking pictures of dying babies every night. But any war would look appalling if you just showed the suffering of the women and the children. Okay, so let's just take for a sake of argument what's totally untrue, which is that they only showed the suffering of the women and children, because they showed the suffering of the men too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. But what else would he like to show? Would he like the BBC to show you, in addition to the actual pictures of the women and the children, that would make their reporting less appalling and more accurate? Do you want for every picture of a Palestinian
to be accompanied with a picture of them also dressed as Hamas with a gun? This is what they want.
Yeah.
And to be honest, this is like the entire Hasbara industry at this point for people like him. It has been for people like him. Yeah. This is exactly the target audience. Every time you hear this fucking insane Hasbara about Pallywood, essentially the crisis actors of Palestine who pretend to be dead, the children that are actually dolls. Every time you're like, who are the fucking monsters who are putting this shit out, and who are they trying to convince? Because when I see this, all I think of is like Alex Jones level conspiracy. It's people like him.
Yeah.
It's for the liberal Zionists who cannot understand a world in which they cannot present themselves and in extension their people as an extension of themselves, as the victim, as the absolute moral good.
I think that's part of the biggest problem, amongst many other things, with liberal Zionism is that, like, I feel like every time they see a picture of a dead baby or something like that, they'll paint a picture in their head of like a terror tunnel that was right underneath it, and if only the baby wasn't there, there would the stronghold with nukes that is gonna fucking one day take out Israel. And there's obviously that never comes out, but it's this picture. Well, why don't you show what was underneath? Well, maybe it's because there's nothing underneath.
That's exactly right. So their the go-to question when a normal person sees a dead baby is, who did this? How did this happen? Their question, and then you might come to the question, how do I stop it from happening? Right? That'd be the next thing. But the first thing is, who the fuck did this? How in the world could this have happened? When they see a dead Palestinian baby, they're like, how did that get there?
Yeah.
Why is this in my face right now? Yeah. Why am I looking at this?
And what is your motive behind showing me this?
That's right.
And what's the real story? Which is like, that's where you really see the brain rot of October 7th starting to set in. You see the way that this is broken people, where they think it's a media conspiracy to show what's happening in Gaza. And by the way, this is a place where, once again, they have not allowed foreign journalists in. The only images that we are seeing out of Gaza have either been carefully curated by the IDF, or they are from citizens, people who are in Gaza, taping their own Holocaust.
What,
and
Matt,
so,
you want them to assassinate foreign journalists now?
Yeah, that's right.
You want to put foreign journalists in
I don't want to put any in danger,
snipers?
so let's just have a media blackout. This is fair is fair.
And I've had the people who
they see the word press, and that's what they do with whatever trigger they've got.
Press what? The trigger?
I'll press that.
I've had people honestly, you guys obviously hear it all the time. It was like, well, Hamas can stop this whenever they want. Whenever they want, they can stop it. And then, you show them a picture of a dead baby, like, wow, I'm sorry, Hamas killed that baby.
Yes.
And it's like, what is this mental gymnastics? Like, you don't think that a guy who's looking at a fucking thermal camera at a screen that could see a building full of people and presses a button knows how many people in there, what size these people are, if they're probably children in there, and can just press a button and then say, I hate Hamas is making me do this.
Yes.
You know, it's like,
Oh, Howard actually gets into theorizing about the capacities of Israeli bombing surveillance a little bit later on.
Yes. But to continue with his emotional breakdown, because this is what I love about this, is we are seeing a man fight with himself because he refuses to let go of an ideology that allows him to dehumanize an entire group of people in the exact same way that he would find deplorable if it were done to him. And he superimposes himself and his own victimization onto it. And
in the case of the victimization, the dehumanization he does, is the dehumanization of, I don't want to know about these people.
Yeah.
It's not the dehumanization of, oh, I know them and they're all, it's like, I don't know about them.
Yeah.
They don't really exist for me.
Yes. And I just know it has to be done.
That's right.
And Netanyahu is a terrible guy, contemptible, the worst. But I will fight to the death.
But even a contemptible clock has to bomb babies twice a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So to continue, I asked you about the specific intentional denial of humanitarian aid, and your answer was something like, well, I don't know what to believe anymore when I read the news, so I can't really comment on that. Is that right?
Well, put quite like that, it sounds as though what I said was stupid and ignorant.
Yeah.
One got accounts and accounts and accounts, and it was very hard to know what was the truth.
Well, just for example, the American government, which has been very supportive of Israel and has kept sending them weapons and tacitly acknowledged that Israel intentionally denied humanitarian aid. Lots of humanitarian groups have said the same thing.
All right, this is an incredible dance he does here. Well, if Israel was doing that, then what can one feel except it's monstrous? I've said one has to balance these things. This thing has got to be done.
Okay.
Did it have to be done quite so cruelly? No.
Oh, good.
Did it have to be done so? See, I'm very worried about the indiscriminate and the disproportionate. I've got snagged up on the disproportionate argument and the indiscriminate argument. The disproportionate one I can't buy because I don't know how you'd measure what you have to do after that massacre. We know we can't measure life for life. I don't buy the disproportionate. I don't buy it.
So you're saying the idea that 1,200 Israelis were killed and now 42,000 Gazans have been killed, that comparing the two in and of itself is not any sort of argument?
Well, all right, Isaac, what's the figure you'd choose?
I'm just trying to clarify what you meant.
I don't know how you do the mathematics of this, and I'm not going to say the mathematics of revenge, because while, of course, there was an element of revenge and you wanted it to not be revenge, you didn't want it to be a punishment either. I hated that word punishment.
The amount of telling on yourself here is so great. He's like, I'm not going to say mathematics of revenge because I don't want people to think this is about revenge. Well, it is, but only a little, and that's bad. And and it's not punishment. I hate that word because that word implies revenge.
And it would imply that I'm not really a liberal. So I think the justification for what Israel did is to make sure that this never happened again. So, it's prevention.
Yes.
And I think in the attempt to make sure that this never happened again, the numbers were inevitably going to have to be high. If you're a terrorist, you do hide yourself in schools and hospitals. So if the Israelis are going to get you, they're going to have to attack those things.
If it's a war crime, Chotner asked, to hide in a hospital, it's also a war crime to indiscriminately bomb a hospital.
Wow. You've just used rhetoric.
Oh, no, not rhetoric.
Indiscriminately. Well, what's indiscrimination? If you're trying to, that's not a word. If you're trying
I'm against indiscrimination. I think it's racialist to do indiscrimination.
Yeah. Bunch of Jews talking about getting discriminated against right now. Whole Palestinian world's like, we're being indiscriminated against right now, and it's far worse.
It's indiscrimination.
If you're trying to go after people who are hiding there, how do you get them if you have to be discriminant? What do you do?
You have to make a judgment about balancing civilian casualties with war.
I'd like to think that Israel has, in the main, done that. You'd like to think that.
Oh, I'd love to think that too, dog. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be so nice to think that? does how they have fought the war in the past year, let alone what members of the Israeli government think of Palestinians, make you think that they're trying to do that? Should I read that again? Basically, how does the last year make you think that they're actually trying to do the right thing?
I would like to think Israel's done its best. Some people will laugh in my face, but I haven't been convinced that they've been not wildly indiscriminate.
Yeah,
One or
it's a
two
little bit of indiscrimination as a treat.
It's just not wildly.
Well, it's not crazy with it. It's like,
indiscrimination on a leash.
Yeah, that's right.
Domesticated
sometimes I just did some indiscrimination.
It's like if you just let him keep going.
Yes.
Just like the more questions you ask him, he's like, well, maybe she's a little bit indiscriminate, but it's not like we're killing everyone.
Yeah. Well, what is killing everyone when there's still some people left? It's like after a while, just let them talk.
Yeah.
We're killing everyone, but we're not being cruel about it.
Yeah.
One or two people,
maybe being a little bit cruel, but maybe.
And then he says, one or two people in Netanyahu's cabinet have said the most appalling things. And if they were just taken out right now, removed from government, if there was a button I could press, I would be perfectly happy. The current Israeli administration has no imagination for what it might be to be a Palestinian. I feel that with a great passion. There has been cruelty in this government. You know who else has no imagination for what it might be to be a Palestinian?
You, dog.
Someone who, when he hears about dead Palestinian babies, thinks, but is this good for the Jews?
Right. 100%. 100%. He gets into this where he's like, you bring up the number of children being killed in Ukraine in your previous piece, and the number of children being killed in Gaza, and you say that the news coverage of the two has been very disproportionate. Can you talk about that? And he says, yeah, it's interesting. Of all the pieces I've done, this is the piece that everyone seems to be the most upset about. I mean, I've been writing it for many months, and I didn't, and I thought, well, no, I'm going to have to just do it and risk it. And it upsets people because the minute you talk about the death of children, not only every word, but every comma is scrutinized. Crazy how that works.
I fucking like this guy, dude.
I know. This guy rips. And then,
I get it.
Yeah.
And now I think I should have trusted my own feeling at the beginning. Don't go there. But I wanted to record the experience as a Jew, and it was shared by many of my Jewish friends.
Can we get an as a Jew alert?
Yeah.
Are you calling yourself an as a Jew? Mm-hmm. I thought that's us. Yeah, that's crazy.
Night after night after night, the BBC showed pictures of a beautiful Palestinian child alive 1 minute and dead the next. That is the most monstrous thing. That we shed tears. We couldn't bear to see it. Were some children targeted? If some children were deliberately targeted, that is absolutely monstrous and indisputably a war crime. Mm-hmm. If some were targeted, I don't know.
We don't know.
But when a plane flies overhead, it doesn't deliberately target the Jew. It cannot. There's no such plane and there's no such pilot.
We don't have the technology for that yet. They haven't invented bombs that only target the Jews yet. What is he even worried about in this? I don't know what this clause is.
Well, he's trying to
say bombs are indiscriminate.
Right. But what he doesn't understand about international law
is
that indiscriminate killing of civilians includes just normal human intelligence to be applied, which is that if the reasonable expectation is that the consequence of your action will be the death of mass numbers of civilians.
Yes.
And you do it anyway, then it doesn't matter whether you were targeting them.
Yeah.
That is called indiscriminately targeting civilians.
Yes.
Putting bombs in the areas which they are for whatever reason, whether or not you know where that bomb, especially if it's a 2,000 pound bomb that's going to kill everything.
Yes.
That is indiscriminate by legal definition.
Yes.
And I have a tough time. I'm no war expert here, but I have a tough time with all the technology we have, thinking that wherever they drop these bombs, they know exactly what and where and who is there at all times.
Yes.
You know?
In fact, at this point, it's like very clear when they are doing what is essentially a targeted murder of an entire family. In the way that they will wait for everyone to be home before they kill, and sometimes do it when the person that they are targeting is not there.
They also have a whole AI system.
Yeah, Daddy's home
called Lavender, and Where's Daddy, right? Or Daddy's Home, is that what it's called?
I thought that's what it was. Yeah.
And here's the thing: I'm not even saying that there isn't also the case in which the Israelis will target someone specifically and kill other people accidentally. No, I agree. They're also incompetent. But the idea that at this point you can deny the intentional killing of civilians, especially after dozens of doctors, this was written about in the New York Times, talk about their experience in Gaza, and we see the X-rays of children with sniper bullets lodged in their heads and lodged in their bodies, and you see the angle that those bullets were put in them, and you see that this is from an angle of someone who was far away and pointing down. At this point, to deny it is just is akin to Holocaust denial. You are no different.
It's an insult to the
still denying it.
Yes.
It's an insult to the sharpshooter skills of the brave men and women of the idea.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, but what he says is, to turn the war into nothing other than the murder of children made me sick, made me not want to trust the news. I was happy to say this is like watching Hamas propaganda. Look at what the Jews do. Look at what the Jews do. Ring the bell, folks. Jews kill children.
Ring the bell. What world is he living in?
Ring the alarm.
Yeah.
The Jews kill children.
Jewish bell.
That's
Jewish. This is Morning Bell by Radiohead. All right.
That's kind of what I have trouble figuring out sometimes is like, are these people just that stupid, or are they just inherently bad people?
Yeah, I honestly, I don't think it's stupidity. I think it is 100% just I'm sorry, but
you're emotionally damaged. Jewishly.
That is what it is.
Quite literally, it's rot.
It is, yes, it is. At this point, it is such fervent denial can only be explained by someone's, mass paranoia, and also someone's need psychologically and maybe even physiologically to believe in this thing we call Zionism, to believe in Israel, to believe that they are the good guys, and they will literally, this Hasbara that he is talking, everything he talks about in this, where he's talking about this all feels like Hamas propaganda, is because he is being convinced that everything that he's seeing on the news is a lie, that he has to believe they're lying. That's the only way this works, or he has to at least deeply question it in a way that is, I would say, unfair. It's because honestly, people like him are being targeted by these Israeli PR efforts to be like, don't worry, everything they're saying is a lie. Here's a picture of some beautiful Israeli teenage girl who was killed on October 7th. Remember how hot she was. Remember how sexy she was. Remember she was just dancing and having a good time.
Speaking of which, I've talked to you guys about this in the group chat, and Adam, Matt, but it's a horrible thing to laugh at, but they just make it so easy. There's one account that just all it does is it posts pictures of beautiful Israeli women who were killed.
Yes.
And the format is such and such name. She only wanted to dance. 7/10. Okay. Now the European date format would be day/year, right? So that's what they mean. They mean 10/7, but it looks like they're saying 7/10.
Yeah.
And with just this picture of this beautiful, look how beautiful she is. She only wanted to dance. 7/10. And I'm like, man, every single one of these dead war heroines, they're just rating her they just giving her a B minus, C plus Barstool Hottie. And it's morbid and terrible, but it always makes me chuckle.
Yes.
She only wanted to dance.
She just wanted to dance.
And someday maybe be an 8.
Yeah, someday.
Yeah, 7 out of 10 American 8.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Grading on a curve for Israel, she's obviously only 7, but she's a Haifa 10. Yeah, got the Uggos in Haifa. All right. So just to continue, just a few more points here, and Shatner really gets on him about some of the shit in which he's essentially fact checking him live. He goes, some Ukrainian children were able to leave many of the frontline areas. Gazans, including children, were not allowed to leave. And Israel has fought an incredibly intense war that has killed tons of children because they're not trying to avoid civilian casualties as well as they should. That's how I would describe it. And yes, how careful do you think the Russians are to avoid civilian casualty? And he makes a great point here. I don't think they're being careful. And in fact, a lot of Ukrainian children have been kidnapped and taken to Russia. But you were talking about the media and the way children have been killed in Gaza. So that could explain some of the discrepancy. And what he's talking about here is the difference in the amount of children killed. He's like, I think it was something like in 3 years, something like 2,000. Well, he says it. He gives the number later on here.
About 2,000 children in Ukraine over the course of 2.5 years.
Yes.
Over 15,000 children killed in a single year in Gaza.
Yes. And he's like, this is a thing that people like, Jacobson here don't want to think about. Their entire thing is, well, war is war. War is ugly. As if this isn't a war unlike other wars.
Yeah.
As if this is not something that if it were any other people who were perpetrating it, we wouldn't be like, holy shit, we are living in a time in which a Holocaust is happening.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to say about the whole Ukrainian children being kidnapped and taken to Russia, I've seen different accounts of what that was actually all about. But let's grant, okay, let's say Russia is not being particularly careful with civilian casualties. How is Israel still so vastly outpacing them in terms of the children they're killing? You know what the Ukraine-Russia war has that the Israeli-Gaza so-called war doesn't have? Fucking front lines.
Right.
Battlefield positions.
Yes.
Areas where soldiers are doing battle with each other.
Yes.
And territory is being won and lost.
Yes.
By the inch, the mile, the yard, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's not happening. As Norman Finkelstein's been saying, there is no war in Gaza. It's just a giant killing field. And right now, northern Gaza is the latest sub-killing field. And that doesn't exist in the Ukraine. There is no place in the Ukraine-Russia war where Russia has Ukrainian civilians boxed into an area they can't leave, and they're just relentlessly bombing them with no attempt for the Ukrainians to fight back.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm like, okay, where do you want them to put their supplies? You want them to put them in the military outposts you let them build all those years?
Right, exactly.
Put them in downtown Tel Aviv the way the Israeli army does, okay? Right. Get it away from civilians.
Buy a movie theater.
Yeah. And just like to back up to something you were saying, Daniel, this is like an incredibly important point in terms of like Zionist programming that I think I and maybe you also grew up with, which was when people talked about the vastly disproportionate deaths between the two, quote, warring parties, because that's how they were, presented to us as like kids, people would always say, and I remember it stuck with me, which is just like, wait, so Israel's the bad guy just because they're better at war?
Yeah.
The way it is like framed is that like Israel cannot be held accountable for its actions because the people they are at war with are just because they're bad at having gun technology. It's a way of saying like we are two equally armed parties at war with each other.
Yeah.
We're just better at killing them than they are at killing us, and we're supposed to just kind of it was a way to keep the framing as, well, this is a war. This is a war. I forgot that sometimes, but there can be wars in which one person is way, way better than the other, as opposed to just realizing what this actually is, which is straight up shooting fish in a barrel. It's just straight up liquidating a concentration camp and, mowing the lawn, as they say. And it's important to remember that that is something that is deeply ingrained with, I think, a lot of us, which is this framing of this as war.
And it's also, it's a way of shifting the argument too, because then it shifts the argument from well, you know, if it was two equally armed sides, and one was a lot better, where's the morality in that? But that's not even the case. So it's just a very clever way to like take the argument away from the real.
And say, hey, you also, trust me, you want the Israelis to be better at this, because if it were Hamas, if it were the Palestinians who were better at, you know, war technology, you don't for a second think that they wouldn't do a genocide. And so we stay the victim. We stay in this constant state of like, we are just literally one more Iran donation of weapons away from being genocided.
Meanwhile, every time Iran or Hezbollah attacks Israel, we get more evidence that, all things considered, they're pretty good at targeting military outposts.
Yes, I know.
In fact, Jeremy Lafredo, the Gray Zone journalist who was arrested by Israel and has been released but not released from the country. What was he arrested for? As far as I know, he hasn't been allowed to leave. But what was he arrested for? He was arrested for doing a report which basically debunked the Israeli claim that the Iranian missile attack didn't do any damage to Netivim Air Base. To a military outpost. Now, PBS had done the exact same reporting. Right? But they accused him of helping the enemy. How does it help well, first of all, how is it a foreign journalist's job to worry about
who's the enemy?
Who's the enemy? And like I don't have allegiance to you. But moreover, how does it help the enemy to show that their bombs hit an airbase? Because it in the media war, it shows, big bad Iran actually knows how to do something close to proportionate and discriminate from that far away. And even after all the provocations, they're going after Israeli military targets. Whereas when Israel wants to show that it's going after a military target, it has to come up with some big AI generated, animated fucking...
animated bullshit.
Put Hogwarts staircases underneath the fucking hospital.
This might look like a normal Hamas train station. But if you go to this stop, you go straight to Hogwarts.
This might look like a normal Hamas, but under here is the Ravenclaw dormitory.
We are here in Gaza in sector 6.5.
If you walk through this wall, you will transport right in.
Howard Jacobson, this one is for you.
Look at all these ones we found underneath this hospital bed.
We found it under this child's bed, the golden snitch. Okay.
He was reading.
All right, so we just to finish up some of this, because I just, as he goes more and more crazy, it's just fascinating to me. What should the lead story on days when lots of children? What should be the lead story on days when lots of children are killed?
I'm not talking about those days. This was every single night. I'm telling you, I saw a dead baby every single night.
Die after die, baby after baby.
Not just on the days when lots of children were killed, but every day. Howard, do you think there might be a reason for that? Do you think there might be no days when lots of children weren't killed?
No, it's every day. I'm telling you, it's every day.
They're trying to make me think Israel's doing this every day.
But this is where he goes great. He goes, I couldn't look you couldn't look at a child, pictures of a child being killed every single night without thinking, this is making my people, my kin, out to be child murderers. And then he says, Howard, I think maybe we're in a bit of a worrisome place. If you see photos of dead children on television and your first thought is, they're trying to make me, a Jew, hate my people. And he says, you've twisted what I said. That's not my first thought.
But even though, can you even go back there, Matt?
Yes.
Because his explanation in between there, where he says, You can't look at pictures of a child being killed every single night without thinking this is making my people, my kin, out to be child murderers. I've got two options for you. I can believe it's true. Okay, it's true. It's true. That's what we do. That's what the Israelis, not us, but the Israelis do. But we feel a kinship with the Israelis. That's what they do. And so maybe there we are again. Maybe everything they said about us in 1200 and 1300 was true. This is what the Jews do: kill children. I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it. But am I an Israeli? Am I just like them?
This is madness, bro. This is just him just going, okay, it's true. It's true. Israelis, they're killing kids. I guess I got a big nose and control the weather. I guess I'm a giant octopus holding the globe. Oh, look at me. I'm drinking a Christian blood. It's like, can you take maybe a step back for a second and be like, this exists within a very specific context of nationalism.
Yeah, man. You don't need to take the Zyklon B capsule just because Netanyahu is a genocider. He's not you.
I'm sorry, but this is like this is the funniest thing ever for him to go the liberal Zionist to anti-Semite pipeline that's beautiful, dude.
But it shows the brittleness of his ideological position, because it's there, but for the grace of liberal Zionism, go him,
Yes.
He'd have to believe in the worst anti-Semitic theories if he didn't hold on to, but we're good.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, so maybe this is true. Now what?
Yeah,
because I'm not gonna fucking change my thoughts. So
yes.
And now for him, what do you want me to fucking do?
And for him, that can't be, because he's already someone who has based his own self-image on believing that he does care about that kind of stuff, that stuff is monstrous, that murder is monstrous, murder of children is monstrous. So instead, he has to deny it, and that's what he's going to continue doing. So he asked if it's his second thought. He says, it's not my second thought. It all depends on how often you see them. And when you see them, talking about pictures of dead children, you see them and that's all you see. And then you feel, oh, is this what the war means to the media? Is this what they want to stress again and again and again? I'm not saying that if all those children were being killed, that we should not know about it, but it's perfectly possible now for people to call Jews in the streets of London child killers, exactly as we would have heard 700 bloody years ago. I love this jump. It's the same, like, if as soon as I admit Israeli war crimes, I might as well just join the Nazi party, is fucking nuts.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you want us to do, Howard? If a Palestinian kid gets killed, what do you want him to do? You want it on a ticker on the bottom?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, just a ticker with a name on it. All right, so he then talks about how you yourself said that they weren't going to completely defeat Hamas. But I want to bring this back to what you said about the streets of London. One of the things that has been so disturbing about anti-Semitism, especially after October 7th, is American Jews or British Jews are being blamed for what the Israeli government is doing. I agree, this is disgusting, but it seems that this has somehow led a lot of American and British Jews like yourself to support whatever the Israeli government is doing. 100% yes. This is exactly what literally what I've seen is, like, because of the fact that people are conflating the two, they're like, I'm going to also conflate myself with the Israeli government by supporting them whole hog. And he says, I take your argument, but it's a bit of a quagmire when you say, well, don't confuse us with the Israelis. We've got nothing to do with that. Because the next stage of that is all these terrible things that you say about Israel are allowed to be true.
What?
Okay, what he's saying there is, if I don't
throw myself in front of Israel to protect it,
he's revealing the curtain.
Then what you're saying is this isn't about anti-Semitism. This is about what the actions of the Israeli government. Then all of these things are allowed to be true if I say, well, I'm not a part of this. So instead, I'm going to take a bullet for Zionism by making this about me and making this about anti-Semitism and making this an anti-Semitic plot for Hamas to control the media. Fucking wild, bro.
Nuts.
Fix your brain, dog.
There's a classic folk song from the 60s or 70s called Streets of London. I don't know if you know it, but it's sort of like, if you think you've got so many problems, let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London, and I'll introduce you to an old homeless woman, and you'll see the quiet, dignity of the real people. But I'm thinking, because he talks about the streets of London here, I'm just trying to imagine in my head a song about, let me take you by the hand and show you some Jews feeling really uncomfortable.
Sad for himself.
So
close to the truth. That's the thing. Is like he's just so close. He's saying it. He's like, if I don't let you conflate Israel with Judaism, if I don't let you put those two things together, then my argument's dumb. But as long as those two things are, he's just so close.
Yeah. Well, it is just, that is a level of commitment to Zionism that it's not even about anything other than this refusal to believe that Israel isn't acting with more morality than, say, the Palestinians, say Arab countries. This refusal to believe that of the actors at war in the Middle East, quote unquote, Israel wouldn't be by default the most moral, and himself by default having the most moral position, which is that who supports Israel. And yeah, it is. I mean, if you talk about this level of supremacist thinking that has infected people because of Zionism, you just you see it right there. This colonist brain, certainly we're more moral than the Arabs,
the savages.
Yeah.
Supremacy. I say the word. Oh,
well, we have to end there because listen, this it's a great interview, and shout out to him for having a full-on nervous breakdown during this interview. The last line of it was like, I probably look pretty crazy at the in this interview, but I hope you can understand that I am crazy.
And Schrodinger's like, no, it's all good, dude. It's all good.
All good.
I think we got everything we needed.
Yeah, we got everything. Peace, peace, bro.
You come off great.
And we also got everything we need here at the Bad Hasbara podcast. Bilal, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us.
Man, thanks for having me, guys. Love what you guys do. As a Palestinian, just know we fucking love you guys, man.
I love you too, dog. And I think you're hilarious as shit. Where can people find your find you on social media and stuff?
Yeah, you can follow me at Well-Fed Comic on all platforms. And I just want to give another quick plug. It doesn't even need it, but I googled the scariest book of the year, and it's Halloween. It's October, so this came in the mail after I got it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who this Tallahassee Coates fella is.
Yeah,
but,
it's a guy from Tallahassee, Florida,
seems like a real scary guy. So 'tis the season.
Right.
But yeah, buy the book. Follow me on all platforms. You guys have been amazing.
You've been amazing. We'll have a link to your socials in the show notes, both on the podcast, on the YouTube. Bilal, once again, you're dope.
Thank you guys.
Thanks,
and
homie.
we love all of you out there. Patreon.com/badhasbara, badhasbara@gmail.com. And all right. Until next time, from the river to the sea.
I'm emotionally damaged, Jewishly.
You're emotionally damaged, Jewishly.
Beautiful.
Jumping jacks was us. Push-ups was us. Krav Maga us. All karate us.